Hello, welcome back to my new channel. I am Jamie B. Still. I read a ton of books still, and this is my new channel, which is geared towards my new bookstore, still in progress, called Ravenmount. Um, and we are talking about some books that I'm currently reading in this video. And seeing the difference between recording on my computer and recording on StreamYard, which you can already tell. You can see there's books in the background now because it's way less blurry. So was it StreamYard? Yes. Anyway, so we are learning our parameters for this new computer, new setup, the way the internet is behaving this summer. All of it comes together in a new paradigm for this channel, using some big words today. So I have been reading a really good nonfiction book called Once Upon a Quinceanera by Julia Alvarez. So in this book, we have a list. I also have some pretty little art. And they did a good job with the design of this book, actually. Although, I will say, when I saw it, I wasn't excited about reading it, because I'm not sure what I thought this was about from the cover. So this book actually landed itself in YA in our bookstore, and I think in the library, maybe. No. It ended up in the Hispanic Resource Center, so kind of an extra section of the library. But it's not written with teenagers as the expected and sole audience. So it's not a YA book. It's about an experience that young women in the YA age range have. But it's not a YA book. And I think maybe the cover skewed it towards being placed in the wrong place. Because by the time it got to the library used bookstore, it landed itself in YA, and it did not sell very well because it was not where people would be looking for it at all. Yeah. So that was a bit of a glitch. And I actually think I got this one either from a bag of books sale. It might have been in one of my bags of books. If not that, then it actually was on the free cart. I made it all the way through not selling at the used bookstore and popped out the other end in the free cart as its last chance to find a home. But it was one of those kinds of books. I did not spend much brain power picking this book. It's really good, though. I'm glad I got it. The other books that I've read by Julia Alvarez are How the Garcia Girls Lost Their Accents, In the Time of the Butterflies, Yo, In the Name of Salome, and Saving the World. The only fiction book on this list I have not read is the Cafecito story, which I've never heard of before, a Cafecito story. So I've read a lot of her fiction. I have not read a lot of her poetry. I'm not a poetry gal. I make myself read it, but it doesn't mean I enjoy it. So I might read some just because I'm so close to having read most of what Julia Alvarez has written. I might have even read Something to Declare. It's an essays book. I'm pretty sure I have read some of it. Because I don't think this is the first time I've read nonfiction by her, but this is different. So, anyway, Once Upon a Quinceanera is about quinceaneras as they've been reinterpreted in the United States. So the quinceanera, for folks that are not familiar with this, and this includes people that are from Spanish-speaking countries that just don't do this tradition even, a lot of folks that are in the mainstream U.S. non-Spanish speaking population don't realize how many countries speak Spanish but don't have this tradition. So it really is localized to certain places. And the book gets into this a little bit. That this is a tradition that's from particular locations, from particular countries, where when a girl turns 15, she has a quinceanera party, a big party. And originally they might have been a bit smaller because the economies where they come from would have been different. Every girl would be expecting a quinceanera just as a matter of course. It's a rite of passage in these cultures. Does this mean every girl got one? No, and economics and politics and current events get in the way. But it's a normal thing, like a sweet 16 party, basically, but at 15. And way more universal within the culture. Which is kind of cool, because these parties, as this book gets into, are celebrating the girl for that one day, for that one party. She is a princess. She has her party with her dress and, an escort and 14 court members, which are her friends that are there standing with her, and all of them in fancy clothes, and they have a cake and they have dancing and little ceremonies that celebrate her transition from child to woman. And in most of these cultures, after this party, she would be considered old enough to be marriageable. And that's where the feminist angle comes in, because feminists had issues with this tradition, with basically it's a coming out party to show off the girl so that she can get married. Which obviously we have parties like that in other traditions too, because the coming out party, coming of age party, there's other phrases that pop up for it in classic literature, where think Jane Austen. There's balls like this where the girl is being presented because she is now of age and can be married off. So this is not unusual. It's just different language, different cultural aesthetics. But same concept for sure. And so these families now, they immigrate to the United States and they bring their culture with them. And quite often you get a staggered effect, because the first family that arrives here, they're struggling and they may not have the resources to do a quinceanera for their daughters. And they don't really have their friends and family around them anyway. So who would they invite? So on top of that, then the kids in those families may not want to emphasize their immigrantness. They want to be American. They want to do American things. Why would I want a quinceanera if I can just go and party with my friends and be normal? And then their kids now have this family history that gives them an interesting cultural route that they want to explore, and includes a quinceanera as an option. And so we see a lot of families where the third generation is trying to figure out how to do a quinceanera in the United States. And obviously there's variations in every family. So, there's, second generation, first generation girls doing quinceanera parties as well. But this is one of the dynamics that Alvarez talks about in her book. And in this book, she's doing kind of a joint storytelling. One part of it is she followed several quinceaneras, the girls, as they are putting their quinceanera party together, so that they can sort of be examples for her to see how this works in real life. And like, why is this important? Is this a good thing or not? And just like with weddings, and they blow so much money on this one party that could have gone to something else. And Alvarez talks about that. And that's one of her misgivings about the tradition. But there are people that swear by it, that it is a positive thing that gives these girls one day where they're the center, and that it's inspiring and empowering and all this stuff. And so far, I'm not far enough into it to know what I think as far as whether it's great or not. I think it's still case by case in my head. But it's an interesting question. And I know there's a part of me that's like, wow, it would have been so great if I'd had a party that was just for me. We have birthday parties, but they're not like that. Half of my birthday parties, only one person or two people showed up, usually because it snowed and nobody could travel. But it's the downside to when I have my birthday. But it wasn't like that. I didn't get a special dress. There wasn't a budget. It was just hey, I got a cake from the grocery store. Can we have a party? Not quite the same. So there's a part of me that even as a girl that was definitely a tomboy, and it would have been neat to have that day. I'm just not sure how neat and how much it would have been worth spending all that money on it. And anyway, so it's an interesting question. And mixed in with this is Alvarez's own story, because she is from an immigrant family, that her parents immigrated to the United States from the Dominican Republic and then went back and were involved in a failed coup attempt and had to immigrate back to the United States again, or risk dying. And there's a reason a lot of her books center around people from that area and in that area, because she has a lot of family experiences to draw upon. So she is also talking about her experience growing up in this family, and at a time when there were fewer immigrants from there in the United States, especially in where she was in Queens, or in Jamaica, Queens, New York City. So it's really an interesting book so far, and a lot more than I was expecting. And I am enjoying it. So if you are looking for something to read that is along kind of those lines, kind of semi-memoir, semi-journalistic nonfiction, this is a really cool book that I did not expect to be really cool. So yeah. Let me know if you are familiar with the quinceanera tradition, if you are from a family that does these or has done them, or if you have had one, or what would you think if you had one? And would it be cool? Would it be a waste of money? Does it have to be when you're 15? In my 40s, could I have I don't know. I don't know Spanish very well. Maybe I could do a party when I'm 50 to make up for it. And I have several years to prepare, so I can get a fancy dress between now and then and have my party where I'm the center. I don't know. As I said, there's a part of me that wants that. There's a lot more parts of me that are like, you know what else we could do with that money? Seriously. Anyway. But it's a really cool book. If you haven't read Julia Alvarez, all the other books I read out that I've read, I enjoyed all of them. Definitely check her out. She's a really great author. Most of them are about like Dominican Republic immigrant experience. except Saving the World, which is historical fiction about bringing a vaccine to South America. In a time where that required having actual humans that had been vaccinated and had the vaccine working in their blood, and then you take blood samples, and while that's still active, you inject that active serum into the next person. So it was quite an operation. And after they were underway, and travel takes forever at this time period, while they were traveling, new methods came along that made all of their efforts not really necessary after all, because they don't need a live carrier for the serum anymore. Yeah. So it's a really fascinating historical fiction novel. And quite different from the rest of her books. I always forget that that's her, except that I know it is. It's just it's so different from the rest of her books. But anyway, check those out, and check out more bookish content on this channel. It is coming. And on Jamie B Books, which is my original channel that I'm temporarily not active on, but hopefully we'll be getting back to soon. So more bookish content coming. And if you see all the mess in the back there, I am still gathering up the right size boxes a few at a time and boxing up stuff to be ready to move into my new bookstore as soon as we get all the funding lined up to do so. So it will be chaotic in the background. It probably will change periodically as things get packed and boxes get shifted. So it's a fun background. Messy, stressful. I like it to be nice and clean and orderly, but progress is being made bits at a time. So talk to you guys soon. Happy reading. See you in the next video, guys. Bye.